Coming up on this episode, we got Marble Caves, Cueva de las Manos, and meeting up with some old friends.
And the Carretera Austral, very famous road.
This is
Hungry Riders.
Hey, we're back. It's been a while since our last episode, but here we are. We thought we'd put together the rest of our footage and get to it.
So we just headed down the road. I guess it was kind of high season. There's a lot of backpackers and other bicyclists and other people going by. And
we crossed the border into Chile and started heading down the Carretera Austral.
And the GPS was kind of on the fritz, so like we were passing through a town. And we've done this hundreds of times before, but without a GPS, like we kind of know we need to get to the other side of town, but it's like to find the right road to get out of there, and everything is dirt anyway.
Yeah, trying to find our way through the town from one side to the other. Which turns do you make? We were also looking for a restaurant that we did not find, so we just had our snacks for lunch.
Yep.
The roads were very dusty by the time we got down that side. I ended up hanging back from Aaron a little bit so there wasn't too much dirt in my face. We had to clean my air filter later on.
Yeah, we were doing that frequently, but this is the type of conditions that'll dirty it up very quick.
Yeah, we heard lots of stories about the Carretera Austral, that it was bumpy and difficult. It was bumpy,
yeah,
but it was fine. It wasn't too bad.
Well, yeah, we heard horror stories, but I think the other part of this, we got so lucky with weather. Like 2 weeks before this, we talked to some other people that we visited in Santiago, and they're saying, "Oh, it's just super rain and mud, and you're like crashing all the time and like washing." And like
we didn't have any of that.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, we really lucked out with the weather. The scenery was gorgeous. There were lakes and mountains with snow on the top and twisty roads. It was so pretty. I really enjoyed that.
This was supposed to be like one of the best roads, especially like dirt roads, like on the whole trip. Is what we'd heard, and I think it really lived up to it. Great conditions, and it was fun riding.
Yeah, and like we said, my GPS wasn't working very well. The touchscreen part of it, which is most of it, wasn't really responding. But, we're on the Carretera Austral. Once we got onto it, we just go straight. It didn't matter that we didn't have the GPS. We had some paper maps that we used instead, but it was just pretty much just go south. It wasn't too bad.
But it was still pretty remote. Like you didn't pass all that many people, but you could still tell it was kind of like a touristy area. But we were a little bit worried about that remote nature of things.
So running out of gas while in northern Chile really sucked. And to make sure that didn't happen again, we bought a gas can to add to our stuff. And we'll see what happens. Our bike's under ideal conditions. We're able to do almost 500 kilometers or 300 miles or so. But this should add another 60 miles or 100 kilometers to our range. And it's good to have an extra container just to put something in if you need it. But hopefully we won't need to use it.
So we made our way to Cueva, and I was able to find some fresh salmon from Patagonia, and that's where they farm it. And we were passing salmon farms like all the way down, so that seemed to be the thing to eat. And we did a fresh salmon on the grill. Delicious.
Then we kept heading down the road towards Rio Tranquilo, which is where we wanted to stop and see some of the marble caves.
Yeah. Serafina, I think she saw this on someone else's Facebook feed or something like that for someone else that had been through there, and she's like, I have to go there no matter what. And so we that was our route that we chose to go.
And as we pulled into Rio Tranquilo, we came across some other motorcyclists, Werner and Claudia, who were doing a similar long-distance trip. And they were also going on towards the Marble Caves. And it turns out that they had been on the Stalrat as well, the boat that we took to cross the Darien Gap up towards Panama. We took the boat from Panama to Colombia. And they had been on that same boat.
Who hasn't when they're riding a motorcycle?
It's a small world.
And it was at the end of the day, it was, 2 or 3 o'clock or something like that, and we were able to get the very last boat trip ride to the Marble Caves themselves, and we were able to do that with them. So that was great.
So we rode out on the lake, took a little speedboat out there and headed into the water, and these gorgeous, gorgeous marble caves. They're so pretty.
Yeah, and they kind of would take the bow of the boat and stick it inside the cave, and you can kind of see it, try not to hit your head.
And then they back up the boat to get out again.
Countertops made out of that?
it was really cool. Apparently the water is like very acidic, so it's kind of washing or degrading the marble, but it makes these really cool formations, and these kind of spires are sticking up out of the water.
And it makes the water a kind of cloudy white as well. It's a pretty colored water, but it's fairly opaque.
Yeah,
Not a
I
clear
tried
water.
to stick the camera underwater, and that did not really work. The footage wasn't what I expected. Well, we also stayed at a hostel campground kind of thing with Claudia and Werner that night, and we were able to find a butcher in Patagonia there, so we went and kind of shopped around.
It's a local meat shop, yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting. But yeah, we set up our tents and camping, which we've been doing all through Patagonia.
The next day we kept going, circling around that lake.
It's a really big lake, by the way.
Really big, so pretty. Just driving right alongside the lake with the mountains in the background, the blue water. So pretty. I loved it. Dirt roads, and found some other motorcyclists.
Just passing on the road, stop and chat and see what's
That's the
going
road
on.
to take if that's what you're doing.
That's good to kind of just quick trade of information. You know, in the U.S., you do something like do a quick motorcycle wave, and they're going to wave back and let you know if there's like dirt on the road or something's happening up ahead.
We
But
stopped
here
and
you
chatted
stop
for a bit.
and chat at every opportunity.
And then we pulled into Chile Chico, and we actually had heard that some of our friends from the Stallrat, the boat that we mentioned before, Christian and Marjolaine, they had been staying there for a few weeks because their bikes had broken. They were waiting for a part for their bike to be shipped in from Germany, so they were stuck in one town.
BMWs.
They were stuck in one town. They had been there for 3 weeks, and
They're going to be there for a few more.
yeah, they ended up being there for a couple weeks after we left as well.
But he had another campsite, and we hung out with them. They're happy to have the company for a little bit. For this, one of the regrets of the trip, actually, the campground offered to do one of those asados with like the whole sheep, and that was something we were kind of looking forward to, but it was going to be like $200. That seemed like a lot of money at the time, and like Marjolaine and Christian were willing to like split that with us, but then
And
like
they wanted us to sell tickets to other people.
to the other people in the campground, which just seemed like more risk and like everything.
A
But
lot
it
of work.
would have
A lot
been
of
cool
food.
to like film it and that kind of stuff. They were gonna like take us to like get the sheep and all those kind of things. But
It would have been fun. We should have done that.
yeah, but
Oh, well.
oh well.
Instead, we made our own little dinner.
I ruined the sausages.
Uh-oh.
They're too fatty
Yeah.
to cook over like the flame at all.
What does that mean?
I'm gonna just let it basically bake
Yeah.
next to the fire.
Yeah,
that
that's
they're not
much
gonna
better.
Drip, they're not gonna drip on top. They have a nice crust on them.
And again, a nice load of nice, fresh, homemade chips.
So we headed out of the mountains, back east, towards flatter roads, back into Argentina, and got on Ruta 40.
Yeah, there wasn't really a clear way directly south from there, and like these roads looked much straighter. And one of the things we really wanted to do was go to the Cueva de los Manos.
So we took a shortcut to get there.
I don't know if it was necessarily shorter, but it's a really good map. 'Cause basically, you can approach it from the south, which is the main way that most people get there. But after talking to some other people, they said that road was extremely difficult on motorcycles. Like, not too big a deal in a car, but
Sandy, deep sand.
deep sand and like big boulders that you would just like be able to slip on, which is kind of difficult to ride over.
So we took the route coming from the north, coming south into it instead of from the south up.
But this wasn't really a official way to get there too much, because it didn't go like right to the center to like a parking lot. You basically pull up to a bluff and then
There's a little parking lot there.
A parking lot. It's a hill, and so And
we left all of our stuff on the bikes.
Our stuff is for the most part secured. But
I think there was like one other car there.
Yeah, but we left our helmets, which is with our Bluetooth stuff, which you don't typically do.
We left all our jackets on. We hiked through the canyon with those on. It was really hot, but we had our water with us.
Yeah, camelbacks.
So we hiked down into the canyon and then back up a little bit to the other side of the canyon, which is where the main parking lot was.
Yeah, and they had a little bridge, so I think this is something that people typically do, but it wasn't exactly short, and it was, a decent amount of elevation change in super hot weather in your motorcycle gear and our squeaky boots.
And these cave paintings were really cool. They're 9,000-year-old paintings.
It's pretty old.
That people had just taken paint in a little straw-like thing and shot paint on their hand and gotten a kind of a negative imprint of their hand.
I think it was different. I think they said that they actually put the paint in their mouths and like blew it out and hold their hand up and sprayed it.
So yeah, it was mostly hands, but they did have some other paintings. They had they were painting the paintings of guanacos as well. We saw a bunch of guanacos on the road coming up.
And some other like local birds, but I bet this area looked exactly as it does now. It's just very open, kind of scrub desert. But
and we also saw a 6-fingered hand, so I don't know if Princess Bride got the idea from that. I'm just saying.
6 fingers hand.
So on our way back out, we saw even more guanacos running across the road. It was fun to see those. They weren't gonna hit us or anything, but it was fun seeing them jump across the road in front of us. Yeah, it was getting to be sundown, so that's why.
Yeah, they seem a lot more predictable than deer. Like, deer just do some really crazy stuff, and we're not going that fast anyway. But
yeah, they were far enough ahead of us, so we weren't worried.
Yeah, and there's nothing to hide behind really, because you see them coming miles away, and they see you coming miles away.
They just want to get out of your way.
Yeah, no big deal.
So we headed back on the road, and we ended up using the gas that we had mentioned earlier. We wanted to avoid a gas station stop, so we decided
to be able to push that little extra bit to be able to get someplace safely without worrying one out, I think is quite useful.
And this road was interesting because they were in the middle of paving it.
Yeah, this was a theme that we kind of discovered all the way south for the most part until we got to Ushuaia, where it's mostly gravel, rough gravel, or the bump with the washboard and that kind of stuff. But you're riding on that, and then you see a perfectly paved road right next to you, like 20 feet away. Like, why can't we ride on that one, right? So we did.
So we hopped over the little dirt berm.
Yeah, they set up some dirt barriers to if you were in a normal car, there's no way you'd be able to drive over that safely. It'd be like a ton of work. On a fairly high clearance dual sport motorcycle,
no problem.
Yeah, no big deal.
So we hopped some berms and rode on the unofficial paved roads, but then that meant that occasionally we would come to an end of that road.
Then you got to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, because there wasn't always a clear way to get back to the official dirt road, so we had to turn around and backtrack until we could find the dirt road that we were supposed to be on.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of dirt berm hopping.
But it was worth it. It was totally worth it. You'd ride like 20 miles on a paved road, and so you could do, we do 55 or something like that. We're still being safe, trying to, look ahead in case the road just actually ends. But we never really saw that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was worth it to be able to go, near freeway speeds as opposed to bumping along at 20 on a dirt road.
Yeah, and one of the things that we didn't film that was kind of exciting was riding along normal dirt. It looks like the pavement's getting a little darker up ahead, and so I went there, and then it was like tar.
Yeah.
It was like
Aaron
fresh tar,
at one point.
and that is not the most stable surface to ride your motorcycle. And hot too, because it was hot out.
I was far enough behind that I saw that happen, and I slowed down, and I didn't get caught in it.
Yep.
I turned around.
I didn't fall, because that would have been really messy, so I'm really grateful of that. And again, it was no big deal. I just got off and turned around, and hopefully didn't ruin the road too much.
And another reason it was worth it to go onto the paved roads was because those dirt roads were so bumpy that they broke my speedometer. You'll see in some of this footage that my speedometer is just at a 0, and it didn't matter. I don't care how fast I'm going.
But you're not clocking your miles, so you don't know how far you've been.
Right.
Mine was working fine, and it was kind of off and on. There's some kind of connection that was kind of loose in there.
Yeah, we ended up fixing it later on.
But you're not really racking up miles on your motorcycle as you're doing that either. it was fun, and we used the better roads while we could.
So then we pulled into El Calafate, into a campground that had a lot of infrastructure. It had Wi-Fi, a little lounge area indoors that you could go hang out.
I think there was a
in.
little kitchen too you could use. If I remember
And
right.
they even had outlets at your tent, so you could plug in whatever you needed to while you were camping in your tent.
Yeah,
They also had a very sweet kitty cat that would come up and hug me and lick my neck.
Yep, you definitely got your kitty fix. But like I said before, I think the camping is fantastic in Patagonia. Just as far as infrastructure and everything, and I think it was significantly more affordable than, because it's a very touristy location. I don't know what the hotels would have been, like probably $100 a night, and I think the camping was 20 or so.
So we stayed in El Calafate that night, and the next morning we left our stuff at the campground and headed off to Perito Moreno Glacier. That was really fun. You could see the glacier as you were driving up on the road, and then once you got there, you would walk out onto this little peninsula, onto a little lookout where you could get pretty close.
Yeah, it was much closer than any of the boats were actually able to get, because there's ice breaking off all over.
Yeah,
and,
so the boats didn't want to get too close in case they got hit by ice or waves or something. But
It's a glacier in Patagonia.
we hung out there for a while because every so often you'd see a chunk of ice fall off, which was really fun, but I wanted to get it on camera, which is tricky.
Yep.
So we hung out there trying to get, oh, look over there, oh, look over there, oh, look over there.
Can't move your camera
Fast enough.
after you hear the sound. It's probably too late.
But at one point, well, the sound was delayed, so yeah, it was too late.
Yeah.
But after waiting for a while, we realized that there was a pattern that you would see little tiny chunks fall, and then a big chunk would fall. So we were able to see, you would see the little tiny chunks out of the corner of your eye, and you'd look over, and that's when you'd catch the big chunk fall. And this glacier is one of the few that is, or one of the only ones that is still growing. So
And they don't know why.
So yeah, this isn't one of those glaciers that you're worried about disappearing. It's it continues to grow. It's being pushed down the hill, and chunks of ice break off down where we saw it, and it continues to build from behind.
And we made a lunch of just bread and some good cheese and some good cured salami kind of things, which was really popular there. And that was one of the main staples that we were enjoying part of the world.
Yeah, that was our go-to lunch: bread, meat, and cheese.
It's easy and delicious. So on the next episode, we make it all the way to Ushuaia.
Yay!
Yep. Hit some wind along the way, some big
Lots
wind.
of wind.
And then we head all the way back up to Buenos Aires, which is not a very short ride.
No, it's ours. That's ours. Yes.
I feel bad. I have the same one.
Ah.
Green.
Yeah.
So I got this one.
Okay.
Wasn't me. I left it on the green.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And then